Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadanti Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruhum Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvedam Savadudam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vidam Syam Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhesya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Budale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartham Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Pudiryastamam Prabhati Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Vadaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hari Om Tat Sat. So we welcome all the devotees for today's teachings of Lord Chaitanya class. So we are reading from chapter 25, okay, personal and impersonal realization. So we'll just, I think we have finished only one paragraph, but we'll start from the beginning. Okay. The Puranas are supplementary Vedic literatures because sometimes in the original Vedas, subject matter is too difficult for the common man to understand. The Puranas explain matters by the use of stories and historical incidents. Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Maharaja Nanda and the cowherd man and other inhabitants of Vrindavana are very fortunate because the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead full of bliss, is now engaged there in his eternal pastimes as their friend. Aho Bhagyam Nanda Gopa Vrajaukasham Yan Mitram Paramanandam Purna Brahma Sanatanam. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Maharaja Nanda and all the inhabitants of Braja, okay, Vrindavan, are very, very fortunate. Why? Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purna Purushottam Bhagwan, is playing in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaja. You know, so fortunate they're all, isn't it? So that's why it said they are all very, very fortunate because of the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is playing, just like an ordinary cowherd man, along with all the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Okay. According to the verse beginning, Apani Pado Jamano Grahita, so Advaita Upanishad 3.19, although Brahman has no material hands and legs, he nonetheless walks in a very stately way and accepts everything that is offered to him. So here it is said that he doesn't have material hands and legs, but he walks. How? Because his limbs, his senses are all transcendental. He has no material legs and limbs like us, but he has transcendental senses and limbs. This suggests that he has transcendental limbs and is therefore not impersonal. So he is not impersonal. He is also a person like us. We are person because he is a person. It's not that we are person and he is a person. He is a person because of which we are also a person. So the impersonalist, Mayavadi philosophers want to establish the absolute truth as impersonal, but this contradicts the Vedic literature. Although the Vedic literature confirms the fact that the Supreme Absolute Truth has multiple energies, the Mayavadi impulses still try to establish that the Absolute Truth has no energy. The fact remains, however, that the Absolute Truth is full of energy and is a person as well. It is not possible to establish him as impersonal. So he is a person. He has a personal form, which is transcendental, okay, which is beyond the three modes of material nature. But he has multifarious energies, of which one is the Antaranga Shakti and Bahiranga Shakti and Tathastha Shakti. Okay. He has three different features as Bhagwan, Paramatma and Brahman. So Brahman is also one of the feature and Paramatma is also another feature, which is partial representation of the Supreme Lord Bhagwan. But the ultimate is Bhagwan. He is Bhagwan, and because of Bhagwan, he has expanded as Paramatma as well as Brahman. Okay, so this is Bhagwan. So Mayavadi impersonalists, they want to establish that Absolute has no form. Okay, and is Brahman. That is ultimate as far as they are concerned, but it's not so. Okay. He is a person and his energies are Brahman and Paramatma as partial representation. According to Vishnu Purana, the living entities are considered Kshetrajna energy. Okay, so we also have learned in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetrajna. Okay. Although the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and is fully cognizant, he still becomes entrapped by material contamination and thus suffers all the miseries of material life. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Who is Kshetrajna? There are two Kshetrajnas. One is the individual soul, the other one is the super soul. Both are Kshetrajna. The individual soul knows only the localized body and the surrounding maximum. But the super soul knows everything, each and every nook and corner of the creation. Such living entities live in different ways according to the degree of their entanglement in material nature. The original energy of the Supreme Lord is spiritual and non-different from the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. The living entity is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, and the material energy is called the inferior energy. So we all know that Lord has three primary energies, of which Antaranga Shakti, the spiritual energy, which is 1 second. So we all know that Lord has primarily there are three energies: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, Tathastha Shakti. Antaranga Shakti means it is the internal energy of Supreme Lord, by which all the spiritual manifestations are happening. Okay. Bahiranga Shakti, which is inferior energy, by which all the material creation are taking place. Tathastha Shakti is the marginal energy, of which we are all part of, the living entities. That's what it is stated here. The original energy of the Supreme Lord is spiritual and non-different from the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. The living entity is called the marginal energy of Supreme Lord, and the material energy is called the inferior energy. So material energy or the Bahiranga Shakti is inferior, and the spiritual energy is superior. On account of this, on account of his inert material inability, the living entity in the marginal position becomes entangled with the inferior energy matter. So the living entity who comes under the category of marginal energy, we becomes entangled in the inferior material energy. At that time, because we get entangled in this material energy, we forget our spiritual significance. We consider ourselves as the body. Okay, I think, I am the body, not the soul. But in fact, I am the soul. That is a real identification. But unfortunately, when I come in contact with the matter, then I think this body is mine. Okay, that is all in all. At that time, he forgets his spiritual significance, identifies himself with the material energy, and thereby becomes subjected to the threefold miseries. Only when he is free from such material contamination can he be situated in his proper position. So, what do we understand? That because of misidentifying ourselves with this body, we are subjected to the threefold miseries. Which are the threefold miseries? Vivek Prabhu, any idea? Which are the threefold miseries?
Prabhuji, can I?
Adhyatmik and Adhibhautik.
Really.
Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adhibhautik, right, Prabhu?
Yes. Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, and Adidevik. Can you explain any one of?
Yeah, Adhyatmik, Prabhuji, our body related, right? Body related. Adidevik is this like all natural calamities.
No.
Adi Bhautik is living entities.
There is by other living entities.
Other living entities.
Other living entities is Adi Bhautik, right?
Yeah.
Adhibhautik.
Adi Devik is not natural calamity. Adi Devik.
Adidevik is natural calamities.
Yeah. So that's what I said, Prabhuji. Adi Devik, natural calamity.
Yes. Okay. So Adhyatmik miseries caused by our own body and mind. Okay, not from outside. Our mind is always in anxiety. What will happen to my job, to my family, to my children, to my money in the bank? This keeps worrying, isn't it? You're always in anxiety. Okay. What is the safety and security of my health? What will happen to my family? What will happen to my children? Will they get a good job, good university admission? Okay. Whether my financial condition will be okay, the share market will be okay or not. So all these anxieties are there. That is the mind. And the body is also having sickness, isn't it? From the time of birth till the time of death. Okay. That is B, between B and D, birth and death. So many miseries, bodily miseries, sickness. Okay. Isn't it? So isn't it not problem for us? Especially in the advanced age, we are having a lot of problems, health issues. So miseries caused by our own mind and body is called, what is it called? Adhyatmik. Adibhautik. Miseries caused by other living entities. Our own people, our relatives, our friends, other living entities like animals and insects and birds and, reptiles, or whatever it is. All these other living entities. From in our office, our colleagues, our boss, our subordinates, everyone is giving us trouble, isn't it? So that's called Adibhautik. And Adidevik, of course, when we exploit the mother nature, when we go against the laws of the material nature, the material nature who are who is taking care of the material nature's activities, the demigods. When they are displeased, then they will send calamities as a token of punishment for exploiting this material nature. So, like it will come in the form of hurricane, drought, tsunami, flood, this, that, like that. So, these are the different kinds of miseries that we have to undergo in this material world. Apart from the 4 problems of life. Which are the 4 problems of life?
Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi.
Yes, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Nobody can avoid it. Nobody wants it. Isn't it? Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. It's common for all. Nobody can avoid it. Nobody wants it also. So these are the four Janma, Mrityu, Jara Vyadhi. It's common. Okay, whether it's a human being or animals or aquatics or trees and plants, it's common. Huh? Jatasihi, what is that?
Jatasi hi dhruvo mrityu.
Dhruva Mrityu. Dhruvam Janma Mritasya cha. Okay.
Mritusya cha.
If we have taken birth means we have to die also. If there is a beginning, there is an end also. Anything that is a beginning, it has an end. So we have taken birth. Birth is our beginning. So we have to die also. We have to end it. Okay. So in between birth and death, sickness, jara and vyadhi. Okay. And old age is there. So we have to undergo these four problems, which is common for all. Nobody can avoid it. Can anyone avoid it? Death? No. Yes. Old age and sickness can avoid if the person dies early. But birth and death, one has to undergo it. Isn't it? So like that. Okay. So only when he is free from such material contamination can he be situated in his proper position. So when we come out of the material existence, we will be situated in our proper position. What is that proper position? What is the proper position? What Prabhupada means by this sentence? Only when he is free from such material contamination can he be situated in his proper position. What is that?
Is it eternal happiness kind of, Prabhuji, something? Full.
Yes, when we get that proper position, we'll be eternally happy. Yes, that's right. But what is the proper position?
As a devotee, proper devotee.
Yeah, Jivere Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nitya Das. Okay, we'll attain that spiritual form, spiritual body, liberation from this material existence. We'll be in our liberated position, serving the Supreme Lord eternally in full of bliss and knowledge. So that is the proper position. Okay, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yado Bhakti Radhokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yatma Suprasidhi. Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo, our Paro Dharma in a supreme occupation. What? Yado Bhakti Radhokshaje. Doing bhakti, devote service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any interruption, without any motivation. That's our actual constitutional position. But unfortunately, since we are contaminated with this material nature, we think that I am this body and everything around me is for my enjoyment. We forget our real position. Okay, the real position is Jivera Swarupohe Krishnera Nityadas. So we'll attain that. So according to Vedic instructions, one should understand the constitutional position of a living entity, the position of the Lord, the position of material energy, and their interrelations. Okay. So when we know this, which are those? The position of the living entity, that we are the servant of the Supreme Lord.
I think
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Okay.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
No, your video got stuck or I had a problem, I think.
It's audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we should know our position as the living entity. Our position is that we are Mama Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Okay. We are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Okay, we can never become the Supreme Lord. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And the position of the Lord? The position of the Lord is the master, he is the proprietor, he is the controller, he is the enjoyer. This is the supreme absolute truth. He is Supreme Bhagavan. So we should know that. Okay. The position of material energy. Material energy is subordinate to Supreme Lord. Okay. It's his one of the energy and their interrelations. So we should be able to know all these things by reading the scriptures. First of all, one should try to understand the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as an eternal, cognizant, blissful body. That is Satchidananda. And his spiritual energy is distributed as eternity, knowledge, and bliss. In his blissful identity can be found his pleasure potency. In his eternal identity, he is the cause of everything. And his cognizant identity, he is the supreme knowledge. So this is about his pleasure potency. The pleasure potency is further divided into 3 categories. What are those? Okay.
Is this Satchitanand? Or
Yeah, it is Satchidanand, but what are the terms used for that? We know there are 3 energies: internal, external, and marginal. So internal is further categorized into 3. What are those? Sandhini, Samvit, Hladini. Okay, what are those? Sandhini, Samvit, Hladini. And Sandhini is the potency by which the whole creation is existing. So that is the existential potency. Existential potency. That is Sandhini. Okay. And all this material creation is sustained with this potency. All the creation, not only material, all the creation, both material and spiritual. And Samvit, okay, that is the cognizant potency, means knowledge. Chit. Other one is, what is that? Sat, as Kapil Prabhu said. First one is Sat, then Chit. Then the other third one is Hladini. Okay. Sandhini, Samvit, and Hladini. Hladini is the pleasure potency.
Vladini.
Hladini, Ahalad. Hladini.
Vladini.
Hladini.
Vladini.
Yeah. So, Sandhini, Samvit, and Hladini potency. That is the internal potency. You know, these 3 are the category of internal potency.
Prabhuji, can you give the example again?
Okay.
For all?
Okay, there are 3 primary potencies for the Supreme Lord, which are internal potency, that is spiritual potency. External potency, that is the material potency. And the marginal potency, that is the living entity, that, Tatastha Shakti. So, in the internal potency, that is Antaranga Shakti, is further divided into 3. Sandhini, Samvit, and Hladini. Okay. Sandhini is the potency by which the whole creation, both spiritual and material, are being sustained. That is called existential potency. And the second one, Samvit, is the cognizant potency. That means by which the Lord knows, with that potency, the Lord knows each and every thing that is happening in each and every nook and corner of his creation, both spiritual and material. That is a cognizant potency. Okay. The third one is Hladini, by which the Lord gets pleasure. Okay. And that pleasure potency, the head of that pleasure potency is Radharani. Okay, because of Radharani, the Lord is getting pleasure. Got it? Is it clear?
Okay, clear, Prabhu.
So
Yes,
in
Prabhu.
his blissful identity can be found his pleasure potency. In his eternal identity, he is the cause of everything. And in his cognizant identity, he is the supreme knowledge. Indeed, the word Krishna indicates that supreme knowledge. In other words, the supreme personality, Krishna is the reservoir of all knowledge, all pleasure, and all eternity. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Okay, Krishna means Sat, Chit, and Ananda 100%, full. The supreme knowledge of Krishna is exhibited in three different energies: internal, marginal, and external. By virtue of his internal energy, he exists in himself with his spiritual paraphernalia. By means of his marginal energy, he exhibits himself as the living entities, and by means of his external energy, he exhibits himself as the material world. Behind each and every exhibition of energy, there is a background of eternity, his pleasure potency, and his cognizant potency. Is it clear, or any further questions?
Clear, Prabhu.
The conditioned soul is a marginal potency overpowered by the external potency. So although the conditioned soul, we are spirit in nature, we are spiritual, okay, but we are overpowered by the external potency, which is inferior. Lord's own energy, which is inferior to our energy. That is, we are Sachidananda, in fact, but we are covered. Okay, so we are overpowered by the external potency. However, when the marginal potency comes under the influence of the spiritual potency, it becomes eligible for love of Godhead. Okay, so what is it? When the marginal potency comes under the influence of spiritual potency, it becomes eligible for love of Godhead. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakriti macharida bhajandi ananya manasso jnatva bhudadim avyayam. Okay, so all the Mahatmas, the pure devotees of Supreme Lord, okay, they take shelter of the Devim Prakriti, that is the internal potency. So when we take the shelter of the internal potency, we will become eligible for love of Godhead. So we have to take shelter of not material energy or external energy, we have to take shelter of the internal energy of Supreme Lord. Then we become pure devotees. Then we will be eligible for liberation, and ultimately we will attain love of God and love of Krishna. The Supreme Lord enjoys 6 kinds of opulences. Can anyone say which are those 6 kinds of opulences?
Strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation.
Very well. Okay. So these are the Shad Aishwarya. Okay. Can anyone say the sloka for that? Non-rombers. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya. What is that? I forgot the starting word. Yeah. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Virasya Esasya Sriya Jnana Vairagyo Shaiva Shannam Bhaga Idingana. Okay. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Virasya Esasri Sriya. Okay. Jnana Vairagya Shaiva Shannam Bhaga Idingana. This is from Padma Purana. Okay. So you can memorize that verse also. Very nice. 6.
Can you tell Puja once again?
Aishwaryascha Samagrascha.
Okay.
Viryascha
Virascha.
Asasya Sriya. Jnana Vairagyayaschaiva. Jnana Vairagyayaschaiva. Shannam Bhaga Idingana. 6. Opulence. Shannam Bhaga means opulence. Bhaga means opulence. So these are the 6 kinds of opulences, and no one can establish that he is formless or that he is without energy. If someone claims so, his contention is completely opposed to the Vedic instructions. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of all energies. The living entity, however, being his infinitesimal part and parcel, can be overpowered by the material energy. So the living entity, the Jivatmas, we are the infinitesimal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. There are every chances that we can be overpowered by the inferior material energy of the Supreme Lord. If we turn our face from Krishna, the Supreme Lord, if we turn our face towards the Supreme Lord, then we will not get influenced or overpowered by the material energy. So, vimukh nahi hona hai, bahirmukh nahi hona hai. So, in the Mundaka Upanishad, it is stated that 2 birds are sitting on the same tree. One of them is eating the fruit of the tree, while the other is not eating, but simply witnessing the activities of the first bird. So, what is that? What does it mean? Can anybody explain? There are 2 birds sitting on the same tree. One of them is eating the fruit of the tree, while the other is not eating, but simply witnessing the activities of the first bird. So, it is compared to who? Who are the 2 birds?
Atma and Paramatma.
Yes, Atma and Paramatma. So, what is Atma doing?
Atma is eating the fruit.
Yeah, enjoying the fruits. What is Paramatma doing? Simply
Watching.
witnessing. Simply witnessing the activities of the Atma. Okay. There's a sloka in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also. Upadrishta Anumantacha Bharta Bhakta Maheshwara. Upadrishta Anumanta. This is what the super soul is doing. Upadrishta means witnessing. Anumanta means sanctioning. So only when the bird eating the fruit looks toward the other bird does he become free from all anxieties. So the bird, the Jivatma, who is enjoying the fruits, should face himself towards the other bird. Okay, that is Paramatma. Now, as I told you, we are not facing towards the Paramatma. We have turned our face from Paramatma. We have become Bahirmukh. So if we turn towards Paramatma, we'll be totally free from all anxieties. This is the position of the infinitesimal living entity. In very, very tiny part of that Supreme Lord, that is infinitesimal. As long as he is forgetful of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is subjected to the threefold miseries. See, why we are suffering in this material world with threefold misery? Because we have forgotten our identity, we have forgotten the Supreme Lord. That's why we are suffering the threefold miseries. When we know who we are, who the Supreme Lord is, what is our relation with him, what we are supposed to do, then we will not suffer the threefold miseries. But when he looks toward the Supreme Lord and becomes the Lord's devotee, he becomes free from all anxieties and miseries of material existence. So this is what is required. We have to turn towards the Supreme Lord, and we should know who we are, and we should become pure devotees of Supreme Lord. Then we'll be free from all anxieties and miseries of material existence. The living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is always the master of all energies, whereas the living entity is always under the control of Lord's energies. Being qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, the living entity has a tendency to try to lord it over the material nature. However, being infinitesimal, he is then controlled by the material nature. Thus, the living entity is called the marginal potency of the Lord. Okay. So that is the reason we're all called the Tastha Shakti, marginal. Okay, we have an option either to remain in this material world or to go back home, back to Godhead, which is the spiritual world. Okay. So as long as we remain in this material world, okay, we'll have to suffer. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. Anudarshanam. Repeatedly we are experiencing Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Sometimes as human beings, sometimes as aquatics, sometimes as animals, sometimes reptiles, birds, like that, different species. Because the living entity can be controlled by the material nature, he cannot at any stage become one with the Supreme Lord. So that is a wrong conception that we can become Supreme Lord. So that's a wrong conception. He cannot at any stage, Prabhupada very clearly says, he cannot at any stage become one with the Supreme Lord. If the living entity were equal to the Supreme Lord, there would be no possibility of his being controlled by the material nature. Okay. Why we are being controlled by the material nature? Because we are not equal. If we were equal, then we would not, the question of material energy controlling us will not arise at all. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.5, the living entity is described as one of the energies of Supreme Lord. Although inseparable from the energetic, energy is still energy, and it cannot be equal with the energetic. So the energetic and the energy, the potent and the potency, okay, the Shaktiman and the Shakti. These are, how it is defined. The Bhagavad Gita 7.4 and 5 clearly states that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego are the 8 elementary energies of the Supreme Lord and are of inferior quality, whereas the living entity is an energy of the superior quality. So which is that sloga? Who remembers that sloga? भूमिरापो अनलो वायु खम मनो बुद्धिरेवच अहंकार इति यम्मे भिन्न प्रकृति दर्शद. Okay, भूमिरापो अनलो वायु खम, that is earth, water, fire, air, ether. Okay, these are all the gross, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay, that is mana, buddhi, ahankar. Okay, these are the 3 subtle. And these are all separated energies, 8 separated energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 8 elementary energies, and are of inferior quality. We are not of inferior quality. This Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira are inferior. That is made up of the 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Anlo, Vayu, Kham. These are gross. Then Bhumi, Rapo, Anlo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhir, Evacha. Ahankara, Idi, Yamme. Bhinna Prakriti. Bhinna Prakriti means separate energy. Ashtada means 8. These are the 8 elementary energies of Supreme Lord, but are inferior in quality. Whereas the living entity is an energy of superior quality. The living entity means the Atma, the soul, the self, is of superior quality. That is Satchidananda. So any questions so far? Any questions? All clear?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, the Vedic instructions confirm that the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. The impersonalist conception of Lord's form, however, is just the opposite. For they say that it is a transformation of the material modes of nature. So what do we understand from this? The Vedic instruction confirms that the transcendental form of Supreme Lord is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. But the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, what is their opinion, conception? It is just opposite. For they say that it is the transformation of the material modes of nature. So what do we understand? What do we understand? What is the conception of impersonalists or Mayavadis? That the Lord takes form which is inferior to Maya, external energy. So Lord is a product of Maya, or it's a transformation of the modes of material nature. Is it so? Lord is under the influence of Maya, external energy.
No.
External energy is a product of Lord. How can Lord become subjugated under the influence of Maya or external energy? Is not. So the impersonalist conception is wrong, totally wrong. Krishna or Vishnu is not a product of Maya, but rather the Maya comes from Krishna or Vishnu. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Yedu Nanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartadi. Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti. This Prakriti, this material nature, is presided by me, is working under me, is comes under my supervision. My Adhyaksha. Maya Adhyaksha Prakriti. Under my supervision, this material world is working. So how can he be under the influence of Maya? It's not. That's what it is said here. However, it is just opposite, for they say that this transformation of the material modes of nature, actually the form of Supreme Lord is beyond the modes of material nature, and thus is not like the forms of the material world. His form is, what is his form? Divya, transcendental. Okay, his form is transcendental, not like ours. Okay, we have a material form in this material world. But when Lord comes to this material world, his body or his form never becomes material. He always remains spiritual, transcendental. Anyone who does not accept the spiritual form of the Supreme Lord is counted among the atheists. Okay. So even they may accept the existence of Supreme Lord, but if they deny the form of the Supreme Lord, it is said that they can be counted among the atheists because they deny the form of the Supreme Lord. Because Lord Buddha did not accept these Vedic principles. So Buddhism is also, is just almost like atheism. Because they did not accept Vedic principles. They rejected Vedic principles. The Vedic teachers consider him an atheist. Okay. The Vedic transcendentalists consider Lord Buddha as an atheist. All the Mayavadi philosophers pretend to accept the Vedic principle because they do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They indirectly preach Buddhist philosophy or atheist philosophy. So even the Mayavada philosophy is a covered atheism, covered Buddhism, or covered atheism. Okay. Because they don't accept the personality of Godhead as form. Mayavadi philosophy is inferior to Buddhist philosophy, which directly denies Vedic authority. Mayavadi philosophy is inferior to Buddhist philosophy, which directly denies Vedic authority. Because Mayavada philosophy is disguised as Vedanta philosophy, it is more dangerous than Buddhism or atheism. Why it is said that? Because at least Buddhism says the Lord is not there. Okay. Here, the impersonalist says the Lord is there, but he has no form. So it's totally misguiding the general public. From that perspective, it is said here that it's more dangerous than Buddhism. Just like, the example can be given. Suppose I'm a new person in Abu Dhabi. I don't know how to go to Dubai. Okay. From Abu Dhabi to Dubai, and I'm asking somebody, how to go. And somebody's giving me a direction, the opposite direction. Okay. To go to Alain, this and that. Totally opposite direction. Okay, so that is just like an what you call this Mayavadi philosophy. If it is atheist, if I am asking an atheist, said no, I don't know the way. Just like they deny the existence of God, there is no God. So he will say, I don't know the way. But the Mayavadi philosophy, if Mayavadis, if you ask, they will say that you have to go this direction, which is totally opposite because they deny the existence of God. So they are misdirecting us, misguiding us. So who is better? The person who says he doesn't know, or the person who misdirects us? The person who says, no, I don't know, that's better. He's not harmful at least.
Correct.
Okay, the person who is misguiding us in the opposite direction, he is harming us. So from that perspective, Mayavadi philosophy is harming us because they are denying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But here, otherwise says there is no Supreme Personality of Godhead at all, no God. No, the Buddhist philosophy. So that is why it is from that perspective we have to understand. It's not that Buddhism is better, because when Buddhism rejected the Vedas, it was Adi Shankaracharya who re-established Vedas. So from that perspective, definitely Mayavada philosophy is better. Because when Buddhists rejected the Vedas totally, it was, the Adi Shankaracharya who established or re-established or reinstated the Vedic scriptures. So from that perspective, they are good. But here, why Prabhupada has made like that? From a different angle. So we have to understand that in the right perspective. Hare Krishna, Parak Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam.
We'll read one more passage, then we'll stop. The only reason Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra was so that all living entities could benefit from it by understanding the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga. So the main purpose, the main reason behind compiling Vedanta Sutra was to establish the prominence of Bhakti Yoga. There are different yogas, okay, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Because he has given importance to Karma Kanda section in the other Vedic literatures. He has given more stress or emphasis for the Karma Kanda section. So Narada Muni condemned that. So why did he compile the Vedanta Sutra? Because to establish Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate. So unfortunately, the Mayavadi commentary, the Shariraka Bhashya, who has written this Bhashya? Any idea?
Shankaracharya?
Yes, Adi Shankaracharya. It is his commentary. Okay, it is the impulseless commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Has practically defeated the purpose of the Vedanta Sutra. In the Mayavadi commentary, the spiritual transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been denied, and the Supreme Brahman has been dragged down to the level of the individual Brahman. So there are two mistakes, so-called mistakes. Okay. Why? Or defects, I should say. First of all, they have denied the form of the Supreme Lord, transcendental form of the Supreme. Second, he has brought down the Brahman to the level of individual Brahman, Paramatma to the level of Jivatma. So these two defects are there in the Shariraka Bhashya, the living entity. Both the Supreme Brahman and the individual Brahman have been denied spiritual form and individuality. Okay, so both the individual and the spiritual Brahman, in his commentary, he has denied the spiritual form and individuality. But as per our philosophy, okay, Supreme Lord is individual, we are also individual. And we are all Satchidananda. We are not matter. We are not made up of matter. We are Satchidananda. So these are the differences. Although it is clearly stated that the Supreme Lord is the one supreme living entity and the other living entities are the many subordinate living entities. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. Okay. He is the chief of all the entities, the chief among all the living. The danger is that through thus reading the Mayavadi commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra is always dangerous, because when we read Mayavadi commentaries, what will happen? We'll tend to follow that, which is actually we are going opposite direction. We are misdirected, misguided. So instead of going to Dubai, we'll end up reaching Saudi Arabia somewhere. Okay, so opposite direction. So the danger is that through these commentaries, one may come to falsely equate the living entity with the Supreme Lord. So with this philosophy, we will equate ourselves to Supreme Lord, which is an offense. In this way, conditioned living entity can be falsely directed. Okay, as I told you, misdirected. And then he can never come to the actual position of eternal activity in Bhakti Yoga. That's why we should avoid such commentaries, reading and hearing such commentaries. Why? Because it is totally misguiding us. Although they are transcendentalists, but the ultimate aim of human life is not achieved by following that. In other words, the Mayavadi philosophers have rendered the greatest disservice to humanity by promoting the impersonal view of the Supreme Lord and thus depriving human society of the real message of the Vedanta Sutra. So the real message of the Vedanta Sutra is Supreme Lord is the personality of Godhead. Okay, he is called Bhagavan, and we can never become equal to Bhagavan. We are always subordinate. He has individuality, we have individuality. Unlike their statement that the Paramatma and Jivatma are not one. There is no form for the Supreme Lord. Okay, these are all product of Maya. All these things are totally negated by the personalist philosophy. Okay. So we'll stop here next week from the very beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. So please make a note of that. I'll stop here, okay? Hare Krishna. So any questions or any comments?